In this tutorial, we're going to create a very basic object called ball that is able to bounce around the screen. So we're going to create a new class in this game shell tutorial video series called ball. And our class ball is going to be the first object that's able to update itself and draw itself to the screen. So we need a constructor, public ball. We need a couple different methods, so public void update. So this will allow the ball to change its position and stuff. Public void draw, and this is going to take as a parameter the main graphical tool for our game. And it's going to rename it G. Well, no, we'll just keep the name G2 so that it's clear what's going on. And then we're going to import the graphics library. And this is all the methods our very basic ball object is going to need. It needs to know a couple things about itself. It needs to know its private int x position and y position, and it needs to know its private int dx and dy, which are the derivative of the whatever. This is its velocity in the x direction and velocity in the y direction. You could name those things xvel or x velocity and y velocity if you'd like. Dx and dy, well, that's all we're going to have for fields right now. Well, let's add one more that is fields, and then private color C. And so the ball will have a color and a position and a velocity. We need to import the color object. Right, and so we're just going to initialize these things to something very simple. So let's just set x at game window dot width divided by 2, and let's set y to game window dot height divided by 2. So that's a reference to those constants. Let's set dx, the velocity in the horizontal direction, to initially 1, and dy, initial dx, to 2, and the color to new color, I don't know, 20 red, 120 green, and 200 blue. We'll see what color that is. I'm not really sure. So under update, what do we want the ball to do as it progresses from one animation to the next? Well, we want the position to be changed based on the velocity. So let's do that. So the x, the position in the x in the horizontal position needs to be changed based on dx. X plus equals dx, so take the value that is currently stored in x and add to it whatever dx is. And then y also needs to be plus equals dy. And then we want to limit it, because if it bounces off the walls, we want it to bounce around. So let's say if x is less than 0, we want to flip the value of dx, so dx equals negative dx, so that it goes in the opposite direction. If x is greater than game window dot width, we want to do the same thing also, so we could combine these into a single statement. We want to limit also in the vertical direction. So if y is less than 0, we want dy to equal negative dy. And if y is greater than the height of our game, so game window dot height, we also want it to dy, flip the value of dy to the opposite of dy. So our ball now will be able to bounce around the screen, because in each frame of animation, which is what update is for, it updates it based on time. It will increment its x and y positions based on its x and y velocities. And then if it hits the wall, so these are wall checks. If it hits the wall, this is the behavior that we would like in this case, and you could change those behaviors or make them more sophisticated. And then it needs to be able to draw itself. So it takes the graphical artist from the game panel class. Our intention is going to be to pass this over. And it will draw itself with that tool. And now where does the graphics artist for our game know to draw? It draws it on the buffered image. So G2, we're going to set the color, set color to C, which is the ball's color, and then G2 dot fill oval, oval at x, y, and let's just give this a size of 20 and 20. Now this isn't good practice. Here we should, let's create a new field. I forgot about this. So to get rid of magic numbers, private final, no, let's not make it final. Private int size, and then we'll initialize the size in the constructor, size equals 20. And so instead of saying 20 down below, we have essentially just named this magic number, and we've given it the name size so that we know what's going on with our how you draw an oval. Now the ball object has been created, but it hasn't. We're not drawing it yet. So rather than let's draw the ball object and stuff. Rather than draw, well, we want to keep the background here, but rather than draw just a static oval, we're going to draw the ball right there. But we need to create a ball in our class just for this purposes of the video to show private ball, the ball. And we need to initialize that. So the ball equals new ball object. And then in order to get the ball to actually do stuff, we need to update the ball. So the ball has a method called update, and we can just update it right there, the ball.update. And then after we draw the background, what do we want to draw on top of the background? So you got to think of the draw method as being layers. So first it'll accomplish this, and then it needs to accomplish drawing of the ball. And you could layer these however you'd like once you have more complicated objects, or just more objects being drawn to the image. So we need to say the ball.draw, and we need to pass over G2 because the ball requests a graphical artist to do the drawing. It needs to know what the game's graphic artist is. And so now if we run our program, we should, I believe, see a ball bouncing around the frame if I did everything correctly. We'll see if I did once it compiles. I'm just kind of biding my time right now. It was a pretty easy fix. I just had the panel. Here's the issue. In the main program, in game window in that class, in the main method, the panel we have currently, the panel starts to play game infinite game loop before we set the window to visible. So the window, it was working, it was just not visible because the program never was able to get to the window.setVisibleTrue true because this play game method has an infinite loop, which we wanted to have, but was preventing us from seeing. So you can see how this, this just goes endlessly. So we need to start that after we set the window to visible. So now if we run our program, you will see a ball that doink, bounces off of all the walls. I should have set the dx and dy to something a little bit faster so you can see it kind of bouncing around. But that is plenty for this video.